Hello everyone, welcome to Tusk Gaming. I'm going to be doing a series of Dungeons and Dragons online videos. These are going to be primarily based around dual classing and multi-classing. Today's video, what it is going to represent is kind of get your mind started in thinking of what do you want your character to do. The more specific you can be in that question will allow you to pick the appropriate classes as well as focus on the more appropriate skills for your decision in the direction of that character. So let's get into the game here. Now you've got a melee selection, which I do suggest getting a melee side. That way you have less penalties when it comes to physical attacks, things of that nature, weapons you can use. If you don't use the Fade Arc of Illusionist tree, then you don't have to really. I mean, if you're using that and that's your intention, then this isn't that important at that point. But if you choose to be a little on the tanky side or using certain types of armor, then you can do that. But the downside of using armor is it's going to affect your spell casting ability, unless if you're cleric. Cleric is the few exceptions out there when it comes to spell casting and the ability to do so while you're encumbered in armor. And that's been the theory, is how can you do your somatic ability part of the spell to produce it, is the thought of why there's a penalty with it, because you're not as flexible. Now, when it comes to, say, wanting to be able to, say, be a fighter, right, but have the full use of wands. Now, you have two sections of wands. You have the divinity section of wands, and then you have like the sorcery side of it, the wizardry side of it. So you have to aka arcane, if you will. So you have divinity and arcane. So you have to really, which of those do you want to use? Now the arcane side is going to be very useful when it comes to like detect secret doors. When you're using the divinity side, then it's going to be for like your heals. That's primarily what you would want to use it for. Now, buying wands is a little cheaper. In some cases, the higher up you go, a whole lot cheaper than relying on potions. But that's the other thing that a fighter could do, is make, buy your potions and stuff. However, here's something to hypothesize. Having a fighter alchemist build could be really cool. That could be something that could really work, or a, I'm not going to say necessarily a cleric rogue, but that's a possibility. But I would want to choose classes, and what I'll be going through in this series is we're going to be doing 5 builds of dual class and 5 builds of multi-class. Now, you can also incorporate your, iconic heroes here. You can incorporate these. You don't have to take all of the leveling points in that class. You can do what you want. So there's a lot of flexibility, when it comes to dual classing and multi-classing. But I would highly advise that if you haven't gotten a character, you know, we'll just say at least over level 20, for normal gameplay. If you haven't done that, then I would suggest doing so, and then revisit making a dual class, and then once you get them up, then you can revisit the multi-class. The reason why is you lose so much. I'm just gonna say it how it is. I just got to. You're gonna lose a lot of staying power if you multi-class a little too much. You know, it would be more devastating to, say, fight a level 20 paladin versus a character that was level 10 paladin and level 20 cleric. Kind of the same thing, but the power differential is different. Now, if you go level 20 cleric, right, you're going to get the high level, spells for being high level. If you only get to level 10 cleric, you're not going to get those. Same thing with, your sorcerer or your wizard, any of your other arcane spell users are going to be the same exact thing. You want your 9th level spells. You want your big boys. You're not going to get that till you get high level, and then you want a few of those in your spell book. If you multi-class or dual class, you won't have enough level in wizard or sorcerer, or warlock, to get those. You're gonna be nerfed as that class. But again, when you multi-class or dual class, that isn't your intention. So you have to have a thought, a goal of what real direction do you really want to take with your dual class or multi-class character. So it has to have a purpose. Maybe it's going to be the main support role character for a small little group. Say you only play with a couple of friends and you guys are lacking like somebody that can pick a lock, or you're lacking somebody that can actually use the whole spectrum of wands. So maybe, just maybe, you would make like, a cleric, pair it with a wizard, and then a rogue on the back end. But the equipment you wear, right, if you do it right, say you roll a drow elf, right? Now, one of the things with the drow elves is, you have the ability to get like a arcane spell differential. So, using elven chainmail or things of that nature, it will detract from your penalty. So that's really some of the things that you wanna look out for. So let's just kind of go over something real quick. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go into spell. Let's say I wanted to do that. So just in general, I would definitely pick the dark apostate cleric. And yes, we have to go female. And then we're gonna do customize, right? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do drow elf. Drow elf is gonna be awesome to do. Now, it doesn't state here really what you get, but you get initial spell resistance, and it doesn't really go into that other information that I was talking about. So we're gonna have to go ahead and we're just gonna do a quick create on this character. and this is going to be a trash character, so it doesn't really matter at this point. And that's what we're going to go with. I don't like having penalties, so that's why I've got those at 10. Constitution's okay, strength's okay. I'm not going to really rely on it. But I do want a little bit of carrying capacity, and then we're going to really focus on the charisma and the wisdom is what we'll be focusing on in the future. And then, we're going to do, you want your concentration. So I'll put a couple points in that. It's highly important that you always use magic device. This is really, really good to use. Just about every character, that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to go ahead and put one more point, make sure I get one more whole point in bluff. That way I don't need any, Delaire's Graveyard 5 to do that in quest line. So I should be good. And then we'll hit next. Now we're going to do quick class feat. Now you can do shield mastery, but if you plan on multi-classing or dual classing, you're going to want to have a plan. You're going to want to think it through and have a plan. So with this guy, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to pick that one. And so there's no rhyme or reason at this point. What I'm trying to do is just get to the talent tree and show you what's going on with that one. Then we're going to do mental toughness. All right, now we're going to do next. We're going to... And then, let's see, Purity. And I'm going to choose neutral for her. Now, it's going to ask you some questions, basically where you want to start, where are we going. You can start at the beginning at level 1. You don't have to do this. This is a 32 build character that is veteran status, all that stuff. But if we go ahead and hit Control R, brings up this here, and one of the things is not only are you get racial spell resistance, but you can also arcane spell failure chance while wearing armor is decreased by 5%. Now you can put 3 points into this, up to 15. That's actually really, really huge. So that's bigger. That's really big. I mean, that means you can wear a mithril buckler and mithril chain and not be affected casting wizard type spells. So that's really what I wanted to get at. And if you have to, just create, if you're thinking of creating a cleric, wizard, rogue, roll each of those characters, and then look at their trees, find the best aspects of each one, and get an understanding of what you need your ability scores to really be, and then what items do you want to be able to use, or if you're going to, go with the Fey Dark Illusionist tree where you create your own weapons. This is one of my most favorite trees to use because the weapons scale with your level automatically. I mean, if you're leveling up and you could wind up struggling, or paying hefty for an item on the auction house, every few levels, instead of just having it given to you in a sense. And you can use this tree as a leveling, just for leveling. And then once you get to, where you want to be as far as level goes, so you can maybe use that special item, or the free one that you get occasionally from Dungeons Dragons Online, little specials that they do. Sometimes they give characters stuff, and then you can then change that out. But you really need, I just wanted to make this video to get you guys to stop and think for a second and think long term on what purpose do you want for your character. And then when you're creating them, you make sure that your ability points are going to be where they need to be. It's like this character here. She would not be good for a dual or multi-class in any of the classes that require a good intelligence. It's not there. That would be a no. Don't do it. Now, sorcerer, yes, that would be good for her, for a sorcerer. So maybe that would be the direction we would need to go. And to engage in making the multi-class, I would highly suggest being the veteran status at least, or a pay for a month, so you can kind of experiment with most of everything, and then decide what you want to buy on your free account if you're going to stay free. But you should always make sure you go to the DDO store. You want to make sure that you pay for the heroic character 32 build. You want to make sure that you get that. Dungeons Dragons Online occasionally gives away basically that for free. They did it not that long ago. And then you can actually create of something viable, but you got to at least unlock the 32 point build. You can do that through gameplay, I believe. So, or you can just buy it. I would recommend buying it. That way you have it right away. And to engage it, basically you tell them what you want to start at, and you can start at level 7. You can start at level 4, providing you have that, that special starting status. So we're going to start at level 7, and if you're using the iconic ones, they start at level 15. So you have a little bit more flexibility of what you want to do, but your base class is always going to be that iconic. So keep that in mind. So if that is what you're wanting to do, creating a multi-class or a dual class off of the iconic, then you would start with the iconic, not because you can't ever go back to iconic. So and then and now we tell them what we started as, right? It's all regular dialogue, but now I can change it. I can go to specialist, change it to artificer, alchemist, bard, ranger, rogue. There are so many different options that you can do, and to a certain point, it's going to really revolve around your opinion. And these videos that I'm going to be making is just that. They're all my opinion, my mind, no collusion with anybody. So I'm going to be doing some interesting builds. In fact, one of the builds that I'm probably going to do first is going to be a dual class warrior alchemist. So that seems interesting to me. So we're gonna look at the alchemist class and see what, where its fine points are, and we're gonna see if we can make that happen. And then after I make a set of those videos, I'll make a set of multi-class, and then we're gonna see what the best top 3 out of those 5 are. And so we got a lot of videos coming. So, stay tuned. I hope this helps when it comes to getting your mind engaged with, trying to get ready, so getting ready for dual classing or multi-classing is going to be crucial. You got to think it through. You should have a plan. Write the plan down. So in the middle of it, if you're thinking, well, what was that again? You have it lined out. So that's going to conclude this video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please hit subscribe, like the video. Please share it. And we've got more and more to come. If you haven't caught any of my live streaming, I do a little bit of cosplay, dress up for those, and try to have a little bit of fun and enjoyment with the community. So go ahead, hop in on those. I play a variety of games. And feel free to give me a shout in the chat when you stop on by. All right, we'll go ahead and we will catch you next time.